Good morning. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. And P.I.L.L stands for prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. Once you understand these four basic concepts, you are well on your way to becoming an interest cancellation expert. And that's why they call me ICE. ICE stands for interest cancellation expert. And we are training people all over the country. Not only that, in this country, but in 8 other countries, how to become interest cancellation experts, even in their own right. Most are starting with their own mortgages, with their own student loans, credit cards, and car loans, completely eliminating up to 75% of their interest payments so that they can be out of debt in a matter of 7 to 9 years on average. Can you imagine a 30-year mortgage paid off in 7 years without refinancing, without sacrificing lifestyle? Yes, I said that. You can accomplish this without having to live like a pauper. You don't have to give up on some of the pleasures of life. You can still go on vacation. You can still drive a nice car. You don't have to cut up your credit cards. You don't have to sell pizzas at night. Listen, you can live well and learn how to manage your debt. And that's what we're talking about today, ladies and gentlemen. What we're talking about today is 90% of the people, 90% of people will never, ever pay off a mortgage. Why is that? We're going to dig down deep into that today. This is going to be the very first time that we put all of these elements together in one presentation. And if you want to see what we're talking about, if you're here on Clubhouse and you want to see it, please go to YouTube so that you can see these illustrations. They're going to be off the chart. So good morning to everyone here that's watching us online. Good morning to you. Okay. And let's see here. Good morning to you here in Clubhouse. We're going to say good morning to you. Good morning. Tell us where you're from. There we go. Add a little sunshine, a little more sunshine. There we go. Good morning to you. All right. We're going to do the same thing over here online. You know, when we're online, people can see us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And listen, if you happen to be on YouTube, would you please go ahead and subscribe? If you're watching us on Facebook, would you please go ahead and follow? Do all of those things that you could do to make sure we're going to get information to you on a good and regular basis. And Strategic Secrets is here from San Antonio, Texas. Good morning to you. And we're here in Huntsville, Alabama, ladies and gentlemen, getting ready to get into this. I see King, I see Brooklyn in here. I see Elena on Clubhouse. Good morning to you all. Listen, folks, 90%, that's a huge number. Think about it. How many people do you know? How many people do you know, including yourself? How many people do you know that have ever had a mortgage? I don't care how old you are right now. Okay. You could be in your 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s, listening to this show, watching us online. Come on up, Steve. Good morning to you, sir. You could be watching us online right now. And I'm asking you as well, out of all the people that you've ever known with a mortgage, how many have ever paid one off completely? Zero debt. How many? It'll probably be less than 10% of the people you know. Listen, I need more people coming up on stage to talk about this morning. Come on up. Let's talk about it. Steve, how are you this morning, sir? Steve, are you there? There he is.
Yes, sir. I'm great. And yourself?
Man, listen, I am excited today to talk about this because we're going to put together some stuff we haven't put together before in one spot so people can understand what is actually being done behind the scenes when it comes to the math on these mortgages and why 90% of the people never pay them off. It's set up that way. I'm going to show everybody today the secrets that the clickbait that's out there, the secrets that the bank won't tell you. Well, this is exactly what we're talking about today. This is for real, for real, for real. This is the stuff the people who own the banks don't want you to know how all of this comes together, how it works, how they make their money, and make you think at the same time they're doing you a favor. I'm going to show you what's going on here and how you, individuals, consumers, can take advantage of the rules that the bank has put down so that you can pay off your mortgage and pay a lot less interest. I'm going to show you how it's done today. But first, we got to figure out why in the world is it happening this way. So Steve, what do you think about that?
Oh yeah, you're the man. Nobody more qualified than you. So I'm listening. I'm all ears.
Listen, I need to get some more people up on stage. Will you please listen? Even if you don't want to say anything, please raise your hand. Come to the stage. I need the stage populated only because it causes more people to come in. And everybody needs to hear this. If you are concerned about the state of the financial education that we have right now, don't sit in the audience. If you're on Clubhouse, please raise your hand, come to the stage. You don't have to talk. All right. Thank you, Brooklyn. Appreciate it. There we are. Come on up. All right. Anybody else? Can we get somebody else to keep her company? Come up to the stage and sit and learn. If you're going to sit and learn from the stage. Sit and learn from the stage. It is very important. More people will come in to get this information. So, Brooklyn, I just want to say, if you do have a hello for us this morning, can you flash your mic? All right, King, come on up, brother. Come on up. Okay,
Good
Brooklyn.
morning.
Good morning to you. What's going on, young lady?
Nothing much. How you doing? I'm just over here trying to copy the link and share this out to people that don't have Clubhouse. Let them get some information this morning.
All right. Speaking of that, why don't I go ahead and I'm going to get our YouTube link and I'm going to put it in the chat as well. So I'm going to do that right now as we speak. King, how are you doing this morning? Or maybe he can't talk, but that's okay. You're on the stage. That's what's important. All right. So we're going to copy this. All right. And put this in the chat this morning. There we go. And now our YouTube link is now in the chat as well. So listen, I need everybody share this wherever you are, whatever mode you're listening on or watching. Please share this out to everybody you know right now. Share your social media with your entire fan base right now, because we're going to get into some information that you've never heard before. Some you have, but some of it you haven't. And we're going to jump in. Why is it that people will never pay off a mortgage, and it's set up that way? And when you go get a mortgage to get that house of yours, especially for the first time, does it ever occur to you that you'll never pay it off? I just need you to think about it right now. When you were signing those papers, did you say to yourself as you're signing these papers, we're never going to pay this house off? You know that, right? Nobody thinks that. They think that they will. But listen, 30 years is still too long. How we're going to get into why it takes so long and how it can be done in about 7 years instead. So, folks, let's jump right in. So, King, you jump right in if you have something else to say. Listen, folks, I have some more people in the audience. Come on up to the stage. If you're in Clubhouse, please come to the stage. Populate the stage. As you populate the stage, more and more people will come in. Right now, I'm getting ready to put on the screen, ladies and gentlemen, an amortization schedule, and this is going to be the foundation of everything. We're going to run everything through an amortization schedule. But as we run things through the amortization schedule, let me put that on the screen right now. Change my, there we go. And we're going to add another camera to the mix. So we got two cameras going and my amortization schedule. Listen, I need also the amortization formula, because that's where we're starting. Okay, the amortization formula. There we go. All right, here it is. Here's the formula. Now, basically, the formula gives us the structure on which the loans are built. Okay, so you can change this formula, all right, and so that you can have a 30-year loan, a 40-year loan, a 20-year loan, a 10-year loan. You can have it at a particular interest rate, okay, and you can adjust, listen to this now, the rate of change. The rate of change. What do I mean by the rate of change? Let me, this formula, more than anything else, controls the rate of change on your mortgages. What is she doing in the audience? You, come on, bring yourself on up here. All right. So listen, folks, I need you to understand what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the rate of change. Vernita, can you come up? Can you come up on stage? I know you're busy, but even if you don't say anything, come up to the stage and all your 1,000 friends will know about it. And they'll come in, because this information I've never gone over before. This is crucial information. And it starts with this formula and a concept called the rate of change. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at an amortization schedule. And I'll show you what I mean, what this formula actually does to it. So we have, I'm going to put in here a 300 and I still have my jacket on because it was cold outside today. It was in the 30s here in Huntsville. In the 30s, okay? That is just too soon. $350,000, all right, at 7.5%. There we go. All right. And calculate. There we are. All right. So our payment is $2,447.25. Here's what I want to show you and what's really going on here. Each principal payment, the principal payment starts out at $259.75, where $2,187.50 goes to interest. But this formula gives us the rate of change. What I mean is, how quickly does the principal payment change so that we will get a new charge? See, that's what an amortization schedule actually does. We get a payment that we can afford, but the amortization schedule, the way that it's constructed, if we follow the bank's plan, it is a payment that we can afford, but it is way too expensive to maintain. How can you have a payment that's affordable but too expensive to maintain? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Out of this payment, $2,187.50 goal is attributed to the interest side of your ledger. Okay, so you have principal and you have interest. Okay, now I need you to understand this first of all. You are not paying principal to one account and interest to another account. You're not doing that when it comes to your mortgage. I need you to know that right away. Because the investor that owns your mortgage, if your mortgage payment is, in this case, $2,447.25, okay? Every time you make a payment, the investor that owns your loan, whether it's your bank, whether somebody bought the mortgage, or no matter what happens, all $2,447.25 goes to that investor. All of it, not just the principal, not just the interest, but every single penny. So what does it mean? What does it mean to pay principal and interest then? Here's what it means on the back end. All right. In the computer, out of your payment, $259.75 is credited to your payment. Okay. So if you owe $350,000, when you make that first payment, this is how much credit you get. $259.75. You bring your balance down by that much. The rest of that money is credited to the interest side, meaning how much of your payment is going to be, taken out, put and credited to interest. So it leaves a little bit of money that actually gets credited to your principal side, the amount of money that you borrowed to bring down the balance. Now, this is what that formula actually does. $259.75. That is the amount of money that goes to principal, that's credited to principal, so you can bring your $350,000 that you owe down to $349,740.25. That's what happens. The rest of this money, even though it goes to the investor, that gets credited to interest side. But the payment, all the payment goes to the investor. So why the subterfuge? Why the pretense? What's going on here? What's the sleight of hand that's actually happening here? With this formula, bring the formula back again. With this formula, it will determine with the rate of change how many payments you will actually make. Let me show you what I mean here. We're going to go back to this mortgage. $259.75 goes to principal. You're left with this amount. Then the bank does their math, and now your principal amount is $261.37. You see, there is not much change between the first principal payment and the second. Let me bring up my calculator here. All right. So the very first payment is $259.75. The second principal payment is $261.37. We're going to subtract the very first principal payment, $259.75. Look at that. The rate of change is $1.62. $1.62. That's the rate of change, ladies and gentlemen, between the first amount that went to principal and the second amount that went to principal, $1.62. Okay. That the rate of change in the beginning is so slow then that means we pay more money. Now let's figure out what that means. What does the rate of change have to do with how much money we pay? Okay? Because the rate of change starts out like this. It has already been calculated that because the principal payment, the rate of change starts out so slowly that it will equate to 360 payments. 300, that's 30 years because of the rate of change on the principal side. That's what this formula actually does. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, what is happening is this is why investors love to buy mortgages, because with this payment, and if you're new to the room and you want to see what we're doing, please go to YouTube. I put the link in the chat so that you can see what we're talking about. With the rate of change is so small, then we keep having to pay out of our payment. Too much of the money is credited to the interest side. Now, I need you to see something here. At the very first amount that gets credited to interest is $2,187.50. If we put that in our calculator, $2,187.50, and then we divide it by our full payment here. So we're going to divide it by 2,447.25. That is our principal and interest payment on this loan. And then we find out that 89% of your payment gets credited to interest. Only 11% of your payment in the beginning on this mortgage gets credited to principal, or paying back your loan. Out of all the money, listen, that is huge. When you make your payment, 89% of the payment goes up in smoke. It does nothing for you. But all of that money just went to the investor. All of this money, all your $2,447.25 went to the investor, but only 11% of it actually is credited to the principal. So the investor gets to charge you again the next month. Watch what happens here. How does this work? So we're going to take the interest rate, okay? The interest rate is 7.5. Interest rate is 7.5. And then we click that. So if we put it in as a decimal, it's 0.075. We divide that by 12 equals 0.00625. That is our magic number, 0.00625. This is what the mortgage company, this is what is happening to your mortgage every single month. This is what this is the number that they're using to calculate how much interest you will actually gets taken out of your payment and leaves only a little bit of money left to go towards the principal. They take your interest rate as a decimal and divide it by 12, and that's the number they use every single month. So now that $259.75 has been credited out of my payment, credited to my to the amount of money that I borrowed, the real estate investor who now owns your mortgage says, you know what? Because of that, you have to pay me again next month, because this is all you paid back is $259.75. So what happens is now I get to charge you on this amount, $349,740.25. So they take the magic number 0.00625 and multiply it by the new balance. And get this, folks, every time they charge you on the new balance is a brand new mortgage amount. And the way that this thing is constructed, they get to charge you 360 times, or it's 360 separate mortgages. Not one mortgage for 350,000. It's 360 separate mortgages. If you allow this to continue, the rate of change is so small, $1.60 in the beginning. The rate of change is so small, that means they get to charge you so many more times. Oh my gosh. Watch this. 349,000. So we're going to multiply it by this. 349,000. Okay? 349,740 and 25 cents. Boom. $2,185 and 8.876. Because the third number here is a 6, we round this number up to an 8. So $2,185.88. That's exactly what you have here on line 2. The rate of change on the principal side, governed by this formula, means that the investor that owns your mortgage, okay, that bought it, it now belongs to them. When you make your payment, all $2,447.25 goes to the investor that bought your mortgage. But this is how they can break that down. Well, only $259 of that actually paid down your loan. So the next month I have to charge you again, so that the rate of change is like $1.60 something. So now $261.37 pays down the loan, but I still get all the money. And then the next month, oh, well, $263 and a penny goes to pay down your loan, but I still get all of the money. If the rate of change stays consistent like this between each principal payment, I get to charge you 360 monthly payments. That is huge. That's huge, ladies and gentlemen. So, what needs to happen here? What needs to happen more than anything else that I've talked about? Okay? Can somebody give me an example of what we need to, what do we need to talk about now to make a difference in this? Okay? Well, think about it. Let me go through all of my notes so we don't get so I don't get ahead of myself. Okay? So I need to go through all of my notes here. All right. So we talked about the rate of change. So what do you think? What if we were to increase the rate of change? Listen, I got a contract from the bank. The bank says this is how the loan actually works. I see what my rate of change is because they'll give me an amortization schedule and I can actually see the rate of change, the amount of money that's going to principal each month. What if I were to increase the rate of change? Do you have the right to increase the rate of change? I listen, put it in the chat. I'm wondering, what do you guys think? If you're on stage and you want to say something, open up your mic and talk. Or if you're online or in the audience of Clubhouse, go ahead and put it in the chat. Do you think you can increase your rate of change here? Okay. Let me show you something that you may not be aware of. That's because this is what's happening. There is a clause in your mortgage and in most loans that says you can prepay. When you prepay, that means you give money to the bank or your banking institution before it's due. If you do that, you are increasing the rate of change. The reason why you don't understand that you're not being taught how the rate of change actually affects this loan. The reason why you're not being taught that is because even a small increase in the rate of change will save you thousands upon thousands of dollars in interest. Therefore, you'll be able to, more of your money will go to pay down the loan, and less of your money will be credited to the interest side, therefore speeding up the process and eliminating payments from your program. You're literally shrinking the amortization schedule if you increase the rate of change. Now, if any of you know anything about calculus, and I do not, they talk about the rate of change in calculus, but that's all I know. I don't know how to figure it using calculus or anything else. If you do, I would appreciate a lesson from you. Okay. Help me understand calculus and the rate of change so that I can help people understand what's going on, what is being done to them on a daily basis, only because we're not being taught this in junior high school. Oh, yes, junior high schoolers can get this. Watch what happens here. If we increase the rate of change, I'm going to make a payment here, my very first payment, and my very first payment has been made on this mortgage. All right. My payment is $2,447.25, and $259.75 goes to principal, credited to principal, paying down my loan. The rest of the money, even though it went to the investor, the rest of the money does nothing to help me. Only 11% of my payment is used to bring down what I owe. 89% of it goes to the investor, and none of it helps me. Okay. So now if I take a look at it, because of the rate of change, if I look at next month's principal payment of $261.37, there's no rule that says I have to wait till the next month to give the bank $261.37. In fact, you can prepay any amount. You can pay off the entire loan if you want. You can put an extra dollar on principal if you want. I'm just using this number, 261.37, for demonstration purposes, for teaching purposes, because it's easy. It's right here. It's only one number, and we can literally look at the pictures and not have to do any math to figure out what's going on. Okay? So I make my very first payment. And with my very first payment, before the next payment is due, let's say my first payment is in January, my next payment would be due February 1. So here's my question. Do I have to wait till February 1 to give the bank this $261.37? The answer is no. I don't have to wait. What if I gave it to them early? If I gave that to them early before February 1, do you realize I've increased the rate of change not by $1.60, but by over $261. $262. I'm increasing the rate of change by over $260 here. What will that do? What will the rate of change here do to how much money gets credited to principal and how much money gets credited to interest? All of this money now gets credited to principal, $261.37. That's what happens. Okay, I've increased the rate of change. Now I owe $349,000 478.88. When I made my first payment, I used to owe 349,740.25. And if this had stayed there till the end of the month, the bank would have had to use this number with their magic number. Now they have to use this number with their magic number. I'm going to show you how we got that number again. Okay. We're going to bring up our calculator again. And the interest rate is 7.75. I'm sorry, 7.5. Divide that. Okay. If you put in your interest rate as a decimal, it's 0.075. Then we take your 0.075 and divide that by 12. This is the bank's magic number, 0.00625. So now we don't owe 349,740 anymore. We now owe 349,478.88 on line 2 of my amortization schedule because I increased the rate of change by over $261. Okay. By doing that, now they have to use this number. So let's multiply my magic number, 0.00625, by the 349,000. 478.88. 478.88 equals $2,184.24. Look here. That's what's on line 3. This is my next payment. Okay? Because I increased the rate of change here, I've eliminated what? Listen, I've reduced my 360 monthly payments all the way down to 359 monthly payments. Well, Don, that's not a big change. Yeah, but look at the result of increasing the rate of change. Look at this. You see this $2,185.88 on line 2? I no longer have to pay that now. I've just reduced my overall interest cost on this loan by $2,185.88 by increasing the rate of change. That's what the bank has been doing all of this time, ladies and gentlemen. They were in control of the rate of change. And when they're in the control of the rate of change, that dictates how many times you can be charged on the amount you owe. I want to be charged fewer times. So I increase the rate of change. Can I give you another example of increasing the rate of change? Okay, I'm not seeing any comments. All right, I hope this is making sense to people. All right, listen, if this is making sense to you, all right, put a number 9 in the chat right now. Put a number 9 in the chat, or if you're watching us online, put a number 9 because I need to see how many people are engaged in this conversation today. Okay. I got, because that listen, it's getting ready to get deep in here. Okay. And I need to know if you're up with me right now. Okay. Steve Mack puts a number 9 in. Okay. Anybody else? All right. Can anybody else put a number 9 in? All right. Get this and get it well. We're increasing the rate of change. Let me show you what happens with another increase of a rate of change. We're going to take a look at cumulative principal and cumulative interest. Okay. If I allow the bank to dictate the rate of change here, and good morning, the notary giant. He says, good morning. He says number 9. You know, listen, the notary giant, I'm assuming you help to close loans. That's why that's why you're a notary. Maybe because you help to close loans. Oh my goodness. And now you're going to be able to understand it from this vantage point, and you can help all of your clients by, listen, all you have to do is point them to this YouTube channel so people can understand what's really going on. Good morning, Notary Giant. Good to have you here. All right. So watch this, folks. I need you to look at this thing and see for 12 months of principal payments, look at the rate of change. It goes from $259.75 on the first payment to the 12th payment, $278.18. And because of that rate of change, 259, 261, 263, look at the interest payments that actually get added up for the year. $2,187.50 all the way down to $2,169.07 every single month. You add up all the principal payments for 1 year, it comes to $3,226.41. But when you add up all of the interest payments that go to the investor, it comes to $26,140.59. In other words, when you add up all of the payments, okay, we're going to take a look at this thing. It's $2,447.25 is my monthly principal and interest payment times 12. In 1 year, we pay out $29,367 total. $29,367 in 1 year is paid out. But because of the rate of change in the amortization formula, only $3,226.41 of that money is credited to the principal side to pay down my loan. What? Out of $29,000, only $3,226.41 pays down my loan? Where did the rest of the money go? Where all the money goes, to the investors. Of course it does. Do you want to do something about this? Okay. Notary Giant says, I will point other notaries in real estate field to your video. Thank you, sir. Thank you, because more people need to know. More people need to know. What city and state are you in, sir? If you don't mind letting us know that, I appreciate it. Okay, because this is what he says. He's going to let other people know. We're going to put that right on the screen. Okay, so listen, we're looking at the rate of change here, and we're controlling the rate of change. I need you to see what would happen. Now, I'm not telling you this is what you need to do. I'm just pointing out what could happen if you did do this. I want to make that abundantly clear. Okay? All right. Thank you for your number 9. This is, I think that's IH. Thank you for putting in your number 9. I appreciate it. Listen, $3,226.41, that is the number, because of the rate of change, that's the number that gets credited to the principal side of your loan, how much your loan is paid down by in 1 year. Here's my question. All right. Oh, listen, we just left New York. We just left New York. My wife grew up in New York, so we just left there. So listen, I appreciate you for being here. All right. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, watch this. If I'm going to pay that, do I have to pay it in 12 monthly installments? That's $3,226.41. Do I have to pay this in 12 monthly installments? Or could I increase the rate of change and give it to them all at once? I need to show you something. Okay. And this is going to be the long way around, but you need to see this. Remember, my mortgage started out at $350,000. Okay. There's $350,000. After 1 year, all of these principal payments added up come to $3,226.41. But what if I were to subtract that all at once? I don't have to do this. Okay. Pay it in 12 monthly installments. I could give it to the bank in one installment. What if I give it to them all at once? What happens? They have to subtract this from what I owe. I've just increased the rate of change from $1.60 to $3,226.41. I've really increased the rate of change here now by over $3,000. What has to happen if I increase the rate of change here? So they have to subtract that. Okay. So I subtract the 3,226.41. It equals 346,773.59. That's exactly what I have here on line 12. Okay. So let me show you what happens when we do this. Okay. Let me show you what happens when we do this. I'm going to take this number, this new number. I'm going to put it in another amortization schedule. Okay. With the same interest rate, 7.5. And if you want to do this on your own, I'm using an amortization calculator invented by Brett Whistle, BRETWHISSEL. All right, somebody put it in the chat for me. Brett Whistle, BRETWHISSEL.net. And you can bring this up yourself and play around with it. Now, it doesn't like commas, so because I copied and pasted that number. So we're going to take that out, okay? I take the comma out. So it's 346,773.59. So what was our payment again? I'm going to go back and find out what my payment is. My payment is $2,447.25, okay? $2,447.25. I'm going to confirm that. Yep, that's what it is. And then when I'm going to take out the number of payments. I have 360 payments in here. But if I prepay this and I only owe 346,000 now, I don't have 360 payments left. How many payments do I have left? Let's find out. So I'm going to make that 0, and then we're going to calculate 348 payments. So what that means is, ladies and gentlemen, if I give that bank the money up front, that means I go from 360 payments to 348 payments in just 1 month. I've just taken 12 payments off the board in 1 month. Boom. And if I take 12 payments off the board in 1 month, that means they can't charge me 360 times. Here's what happens. Because my next payment, so if I start here, all right, I make payment number 1, all right, and I pay in interest $2,187.50. The next time they get to charge me, ladies and gentlemen, is when I owe $346,773.59, and my interest payment is $2,167.33. All right. Let me show you where else this shows up. $2,167.33. It shows up on the original on line 13. $2,167.33. Look at that. That's the next time they get to charge me. They charge me here on the very first payment I make. I give them the whole $3,226.41 up front. I'm going to prepay. And the next time they get to charge me is $2,000, is on line 13, where I paid $2,167.33. So what just happened? If I look at the amount of interest I paid on my first payment, $2,187.50. And then the next interest charge is $2,167.33 plus $2,167.33. That equals $4,354.83 to pay down to here. $4,354.83 to pay down to right here. This is how much I owe. If I allow the bank to control the rate of change, do you know how much it would cost me in of all the money that I paid out? Do you know how much they would take and only attribute a small amount to principal? This is what it would look like if I let them do the job. Let me put that back on the screen though. Instead of $43.54 going to interest, they would get $28,307.92 in interest to pay the loan down by the same amount of $3506.33. What? Yeah. To pay, listen, I just given you two ways to pay to how much money gets attributed to principal. $3,506.33 one way will cost you $4,354.83 in interest to do it one way. Or you could do it the bank's way and have it cost you $28,307.92 because they are controlling the rate of change in this loan. Wow. Do you see what's happening here? The percentage of your payment, if we allow the banks to control the rate of change, that amount of money to me is misused. It's not going to where you want it to go. It's going to the investor so that they can charge you several times. So here's what happens. Normally, it would take me 13 payments to get here. I just showed you a way that you can make 2 monthly payments to get here. 2 monthly payments. What if you had a system? Ladies and gentlemen, that would allow you to systematically save some money up, drop some money on this loan, and keep knocking out these payments and more money going to principal. And it's not that big a change, but the results are phenomenal. $3,000 applied to this loan saves you a ton. So listen, if we do the math here and look at how much interest the bank wants on this first loan, $531,000. That's how much money they want. $531,000. Look here. $531,000. $10. Okay. $531,010 interest on this loan. Now, because I prepaid the first year, now it drops down to because I only have 348 payments left. The amount of interest that they could charge me if I don't do anything else is only down to $504,000. So let's bring our calculator back. Okay, not 531,000, but 504,000. So let's do some subtraction. 504,000, 869.41 equals $26,140.59. $26,140.59. That's how much interest we just knocked off by saving that money. So if I've saved this much money, okay, I need to show you this. Isn't that same number here? $26,140.59. That's how much money we saved. Let me bring that back up on the screen so I can compare. $26,140.59. Look at that. I need to show you something here. If I prepaid this and I got this as a benefit, interest I didn't have to pay, I can do a calculation called return on investment, ROI. How do you do ROI? Here's how you do ROI, ladies and gentlemen. You take what your benefit is, or how much money you made, or how much money you saved. You divide it by the amount of money you invested. You then take that number and then multiply it by 100, and then you get your ROI, your return on investment. So if I take $26,140.59, that's interest I will not have to pay the bank now, right? Divide it by the amount of money that we're going to put towards the loan up front, $3,226.41. Okay, watch this. Divide it by $3,226.41 equals, and then I take this number and multiply it by 100. $810% return on my money. Where else do you know, ladies and gentlemen, where else do you know you can invest $3,226.41 and get an 800% return on your money anywhere else? Do you know there are real estate investors right now, because of the math that they've been taught in their classes, are telling you that why do anything to prepay this 7.5% when you can make 20% by taking that money and putting it into another investment, and you can make 20, even 30% in real estate if you invested invested over there. This beats that all to heck. I can take that same money, invest it in my mortgage, increase the rate of change so that I can get that equity for $26,000 cheaper. That's an 810% return on my money. Where else can you get that? In just 1 year. Yeah. You don't realize 810% return on your money unless you've been in the mortgage for 1 year. Now, let me show you what else happens after 1 year in this mortgage. If I do it the bank's way, 1 year, I'm paid down to here. I still owe $346,000. If I do it the other way, I prepay this. Now I have a new amortization schedule. And if I just make every payment for a year, I'm down to $343,000. $343,296.71. If I don't do anything else except prepay and then make the regular payments for 1 year, I have given the bank $3,476.88, all right, on top of what I prepaid. But I'm paid down to $343,296.71. But the total interest is $25,890. That's the total interest, $25,890 to pay it down to $343,296.71. On the original loan, where we're not accelerating the rate of change, let's find this number, $343,296.71. Let's go find this on the original one. Let me see here. What's that number? $343,296. 343 to, oh, there it is. Oh, it's 24 months in. That's 24 months in on the original loan. If I allow the bank to dictate the rate of change, I'm paid down to here. It'll take 2 years to get here, not 1 year. And I will have to pay $52,000 in interest to get to the same place. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to start taking control of the rate of change on these loans, no matter what. Now, this may seem a little boring to you. I don't know. I don't know, but it excites me to be able to get this information out. Somebody is going to take this information and run with it. And not only that, but be able to pay off all of their debt in an average of 7 to 9 years. 7 to 9 years. That's the average. And all the interest that they didn't pay, we can track. And then you can invest that money elsewhere to make more money. Control the rate of change. So we're going to take the percentage that is being misused, and we're going to give it a right use. The percentage of your payment has now changed, ladies and gentlemen, where only 11% was going towards principal and 89% is going to interest. You just flipped the script. Where where 11% of the money, every time you prepay here, 11% goes to the bank, 80 to 89% goes to you. Just because we understand it now. By the time it's all said and done, and it equals out and it averages out over the years, by the time you're into this thing between 7 and 9 years, you can eliminate you can make a 75 to 80% change in the amount of interest that you pay. That gets attributed to the interest side, where the principal side comes down so quickly using small amounts of money because you understand the rate of change now. You can kill this thing. All right? You can kill it by understanding the rate of change. So, ladies and gentlemen, what is going on here? What are we talking about? The percentages that the bank is using here, hurting us just to give us a payment we can afford, but it is so doggone expensive. Why not take control of us? We're not taking advantage of controlling the principal allotment, what gets allotted to principal, what gets credited to principal. Once you start taking control of that, you can start making a difference for yourself. Why do I use Brett Whistle? Why do I use Brett Whistle for this as a teaching tool? Because we're not tracking our interest payments. We're not tracking how much of our money goes to interest and how much money is allotted to principal. We're not tracking it. When we are forced to track it, then we can do something about it. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, here's my next note. We have to stop listening to experts, so-called experts, when it comes to these loans. If they're not showing you the numbers like we show you in the P.I.L.L method, stop believing them. Stop taking that information. Make them show you the numbers as we show you here. Because see, the next thing you need to do is not just understand the numbers, but how can we optimize the use of these numbers? Meaning, how much money do I put towards my loan? And what month do I do it in? What month do I make that payment? And how much interest am I saving per dollar applied? How much interest am I saving per dollar? You see, when I do the math, when we do the math, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm going to save here, we figured out before we're going to save $26,000 in interest by applying this methodology, by giving the bank the $3,226.41 early. We're changing the rate of change from $1.60 to over $3,000 here. And because of that, it saves us a ton of money in interest, $26,000 in interest. So if you can save that kind of money, we can figure out how much interest I'm saving per dollar. We can take our calculator and figure out, I got $26,140.59. Let's not forget the 59 cents. And we're going to divide it by 3,226.41. $8.10. For every dollar I put towards this mortgage, I save $8.10 at this point. Do you realize if I play around with this thing long enough, I can actually increase or decrease the amount of money I'm saving per dollar by paying the wrong amount at the wrong time? It's not just saving some money. Listen, do you want to save some money on your mortgage, on your student loans, on your credit cards, or your car loans? Do you want to save some money in interest, or do you want to save the maximum amount of interest that is mathematically possible for you? Dr. Allison A says, how do I find the amortization schedule for your credit card? Oh, Dr. Allison, let me show you how that's done, okay? Because this is a good time to take a break. All right, this is what she asked. You can use the same Brett whistle. You just need different information. Okay, how do I find the amortization schedule for a credit card? Here's how you do it, okay? So we're going to, let me take this off. So we're going to bring up another, okay? We're going to bring up another Brett whistle here. All right, and we're going to take out these numbers. So, Dr. Allison, how much do I owe on my credit card here? Give me a number and give me an interest rate. How much do I owe on this credit card, and what is the interest rate? I need you all to tell. Give me some numbers to work with. Dr. Allison, how much do I owe, and what is the interest rate? You can just give me two numbers. I'll figure it out. Okay? All right. Can you give me a couple of numbers? Because listen, I can make something up. Okay. Let me just put in. I'm going to put in, because I'm not seeing anything. I'm putting $10,000. Okay. There she said $15K at 20%. Thank you. Okay. $15,000. Okay. $15,000. The interest rate is 20%. The only difference is all credit cards are amortized for 240 months. So just change this number to 240 months. Okay? Now, here's the other piece. The basics of using an amortization schedule like this for a credit card, these are just the basics. Every credit card company takes a certain percentage of how much you owe and then adds it to the minimum payment. Because if you just take the interest payments are correct, just the principal payments are not correct, because the credit card companies take control of the rate of change here. Okay. So if we use this formula, okay, if we use this formula to calculate, all right, then 200, we have an interest. The first interest payment is $250. $250 is the first interest payment on this loan. Now, the first payment here, because of the rate of change, is $254.82. So if the credit card companies did not control the rate of change here, then only $4.82 would go to principal, where $250 would go to interest. Okay? But they're going to take a percentage of how much you owe and add it to the principal payment so they can increase the rate of change, thereby making sure that they get their money back faster. Now, it's important that credit card companies get their money back faster, because here's the thing. Here's the difference between the bank and the credit card company. When your bank issues you a mortgage, they don't hold on to that money. They don't hold on to that thing. They sell it on the secondary market. They get their money back within days, within weeks or days of you signing your contract. They get rid of it. They sell it. They get their money. Most banks, Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Citibank, if you have your mortgage with any major banking institution or mortgage company, okay, with all the mortgages they have, they would soon run out of money to lend. So what do? They set up the mortgage, you get the mortgage with them, and then they sell it at a premium. They make their money when they sell it, not off the interest from you. So the real estate investor gets all of your money. Okay? The one who's investing in mortgages, they're called mortgage-backed securities. They invest in those things because they know that you don't understand how this game is played, and they're looking at getting their mortgage money for 360 months because you're not understanding the rate of change here. There it is. So now this is how the credit card companies do it. They increase the rate of change so they can get their money back faster because they're not selling these contracts. They need to increase when they can get their money back so they can lend it out again. They are making money off the interest and the fees. Credit card companies do. So it is important for them to get their money back so they can lend it out again. Not so important for Chase or Wells Fargo or Bank of America because they sell the mortgages. There you go. That's the difference. Okay, Dr. Allison, I hope that answers your question. Okay. All right. Brooklyn says she had to leave. She'll catch us the next time, but she can listen. If any of you have to leave beforehand, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry about it. Catch the replays. This information is gold. This information is gold. So here's what we're doing. So, my next point, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 more points left. Okay. My next point is large amounts of cash sitting in the bank. Okay. Some of you have been told over the years, to have what? 3 months, 6 months cash reserves in cash sitting in the bank, just in case something goes wrong and you can't work for a while. At least you have 6 months of bills stacked up in cash so that you can continue to survive if something should happen. Folks, find a different way. Find a different way to have that cash available to you. Why do I say that? Because let's just say it takes $6,000 a month to run my household. So 6 months worth of 6 months worth of cash. 6 times 6 that's $36,000. $36,000 sitting in the bank, waiting for something to go wrong. And even if it's a high yield savings, maybe I'm getting better than 4% in a high yield savings. And there are accounts out there that are paying better than 4%. I have one of them. Okay. I'm getting 4.99. Okay. In a high yield savings. But listen, that gets crushed by over 810% return on my money by understanding how prepaying can accelerate my mortgage and save me interest. So why would I have cash making 4% over here just in case something goes wrong when I could just set it up so that I can have a series of credit cards, or a line of credit? What if I had a personal line of credit or a credit card that I could borrow $36,000 from? Don, why would you borrow money when you're in trouble? Okay, here's what I need to tell you. If you do that, do I want to take my $36,000? Let me go back to this mortgage here. I need to show you this. This is crazy. Okay, I need 36,000 available to me, 6 months worth of money so that I can pay my bills. 6 months worth of money, a personal line of credit, okay, or a HELOC, home equity line of credit. Let's just say I have that available to me, right? 36 grand. So I can take my $36,000 and put it in the bank so I don't have to borrow the money. Okay, I could do that. Or I could take my 36 grand and control the rate of change on this mortgage here. Okay, I need you to take a look at cumulative principal. Look at cumulative principal here. Scroll down to 36,000. Look what happens. Oh my gosh. $36,000. $36,000 takes off 101 payments on this mortgage and saves $210,000 worth of interest. That's what $36,000 does over here. Why would I have 36 grand sitting in the bank just waiting for something to go wrong when it could do this kind of damage and save me $210,000 in interest? Why would I do that? So Don, listen, and then somebody turns around and says, well, Don, if you don't do that, then if you get in trouble, you have to borrow the money. All right. Well, what happens if I have to borrow the money? All right. Let me show you. Let me show you what happens if I have to borrow the money. Okay. So we're going to duplicate this tab. I borrowed $36,000. Okay. 36,000. All right. And let's just say, my interest rate is, I don't know, let's say it's even 9%. Okay. And let's just say I want to take 5 years to pay it off. All right. 5 years. That's 60 months. Take 60 months to pay that off. Here's my payment. 36 grand. Here's my payment. $747.30 a month. So I'm off work for 6 months. I have to pay the bills. So I've racked up charges of 36 grand. Now I'm back to work. But I'm still making good money, but I'm going to take 5 years to pay this back. Okay. Now I need you to take a look at this. If I take my cash and put it in the bank, I don't have to borrow the money for my emergencies. I don't have to borrow the money for my emergencies. I don't have to, because I've got the cash sitting there. But if I have my cash sitting there, I can't also do this with my cash. Prepaid 36 grand on my mortgage here. Knock off 101 payments. Okay. Let's say 101 payments. Let me put that on the screen for you. 101 payments, 101 divided by 12. Okay. Knock off over almost 8.5 years, almost over 8 years off the mortgage. Okay. And save me $210,000 in interest I don't have to pay. 210,000. So, or I could do this. Borrow the money at even 9% interest, and I'm going to take 5 years to pay it back. Total interest cost. Even if I don't prepay this, what if I make every single payment for 60 payments to pay this back? Total interest cost, $8,838. Listen, folks, the reason why the experts are saying don't borrow the money is to keep from paying the interest. The interest here is $8,838 if I make every single payment. So here's my question to you is, why would I avoid this side of paying $8,800 in interest? Why would I avoid paying that just so that I could turn around and pay $210,000 to my mortgage? Does it make sense to you to keep that kind of cash sitting in the bank when it could do this kind of damage to this mortgage? I need to hear from you. If you think that that cash is king, that we shouldn't just learn how to leverage somebody else's money, I'm going to pay them. I'm going to pay my line of credit $8,000 so that I can use my money over here to save me $210,000 and knock off 8 years on my mortgage. You tell me if keeping $36,000 in the bank makes sense to you now. I'm just saying. We need to understand how to leverage and stop keeping a lot of cash on hand. Listen, if you have the resources, follow me now. And I want to make this abundantly clear because somebody's going to take this clip and try to make it say something I didn't say. But listen to the whole story. Using credit is for those people who have resources. So you build up your credit based on your resources. You can pay it off. Okay. But if you should get in trouble for a short period of time, I still would rather borrow the money than save up a bunch of cash that could actually save me even more money in interest than the money I'm trying to avoid by borrowing. How much money am I trying to avoid by borrowing here? Even if it's at 9%, I'm trying to avoid $8,000 in interest. Yeah, $8,000. But if I use that money, it saves me $210,000 in interest on the mortgage. Folks, it doesn't even begin to compare. Not even begin to compare. Oh my goodness. How long have we been here? An hour and 26 minutes already. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So listen, what else do we have? What else do we have here? Refinancing to a lower interest rate. Some people say, well, let me refinance to a lower interest rate to make this happen for me. No. Listen, if we get over here to this mortgage here, all right? And if I can afford this payment, I need you to see what my principal payment is. When you control the principal payment, you control the loan. You control the principal payment and you control the loan. So at a higher interest rate, you get this smaller principal payment. Does that make sense to you? At a higher interest rate, you get a small principal payment. And if I just want to get rid of one line off my amortization schedule, I make a payment here and I'll prepay the next line, which is $261.37. I'll just have to come up with $261.37. But if I lower the interest rate, let me see here. We're going to take the same thing. We're going to lower the interest rate to 5.5. My new payment is now 1987.26 versus my payment of 2447.25. So my payment is less, okay, at 5.5 for $350,000. But look at my principal payments. Now to get rid of one payment is $384.85 as opposed to $261.37. Why is that important? Why is that important to control the principal payment here? Because on the listen, on this one, 3,000 to, if I were to prepay something, I'm just picking out a number here. Take a look at cumulative principal. $3,226.41 knocks off 1 year off this mortgage. 1 year off if I prepay it. But if I lower the interest rate to 5.5, let me show you what 3226 does to this loan. Oh, right around in here. Between 8 and 9 payments. There it is. Not even 9 payments it removes when I prepay that same amount of money because I lower the interest rate. When you lower the interest rate, you make it harder to pay the loan off cheaper and faster. And the people who own the bank know this. If you can afford your payment and you have the resources to prepay your mortgage, it makes absolutely no sense to get to refinance just to get a lower interest rate. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make money. We're just told that because it's part of the industry. Listen, ask yourself, just ask this question. If by refinancing, I'm saving money, who has to be losing money? If by refinancing, I'm saving money, then who has to be losing money? And if the answer you keep coming up with is the bank, then why are they in the refinance business? I guarantee you, they're not losing money here. Guaranteed. Okay, let me show you one thing about refinancing this loan. Okay, down to 5.5%. It's going to cost about $10,000 to refinance. Okay, and they rolled it into the loan. Let me show you what happens even at 5.5% when you roll in the refinance fees to this loan. You have to, when you go to refinance, you're borrowing a certain amount of money. You're already paid down to a certain amount, but then you just added $10,000 to it for the closing fees, somewhere between 8 and 10,000. Okay, let's just say 10,000. Let's just say 10,000. So I got $10,000. It cost me in closing costs to get this lower payment, and I'm happy with my payment, and we're moving on. But most people don't realize you just signed up for a new 30-year loan. And when you refinance, it's usually 5 to 7 years in. So if you're 7 years in and you refi to get that lower interest rate and you get a new 30-year loan, now you have a 37-year mortgage. So it's not the interest rate that brings down the payment so much. What brings down your payment is taking how much you owe and dividing it by another 360 payments so that they can control the rate of change and give you these tiny rates of change in the beginning so they can continue to charge you another 360 times on top of what you've already paid. So let me show you what happens here. You have to pay back the first $10,000 to get back to where you were before you refinanced. If you were down to $340,000 and you refinance this and it costs you $10,000, now you owe $350,000. But to get back down to $340,000, you have to pay off that $10,000 that they rolled into the loan. So here we go. $350,000, 5.5. And I'm paying off the loan. And in the first year, I just paid down the loan by $4,714.80. That's just the $10,000 I added in. I haven't gotten back to where I was yet. I've already paid $19,000 interest on a $4,700 loan. By the time I pay back the $10,000, it takes 2 years, 1 month. 2 years, 1 month to pay back the first $10,000. And how much interest did I pay on that loan? $39,558.43. When I refinance and they add this in there, no one is pointing this out to us. No one is. If I borrow $10,000, because that's what you're doing when you're rolling it into the loan. I borrow $10,000 and now I got to pay back all of that interest. If your credit union called you up today or sent out a notice and said, listen, have we got a deal for you? We're going to lend you $10,000 for 2 years. And all you have to pay us back is the $10,000 plus $39,558 in interest. Would you take that deal? You would turn it down flat, hands down, no questions asked. There's no way on God's green earth I'm going to pay anybody $40,000 to borrow $10,000 for 2 years. That's exactly what happens here when we refinance and we lose track of how much money goes to principal and how much money is attributed to interest. It happens every single time. If you borrow $10,000, ladies and gentlemen, and you pay back the $10,000 and the $10,000 in interest on top of that, that's a 100% loan. If you pay back $20,000 in interest, that's 200%. $30,000 in interest, that's 300%. Here is practically $40,000 in interest to borrow $10,000, making it a total of $49,000 to refi this thing. That's a 400% loan all day. 400%. That's why they refinance. Listen, I've got millions and millions of people out there that I can refinance because they're part of my company now. They're part of my company. I'm going to refinance them. And so if I refinance them, guess what? I get to charge them. And if I charge them, they're happy because they got a lower payment. But I just added in $10,000 that I'm going to make 400% on times, my goodness, the thousands upon thousands of customers I have. Just that is a huge, that's trillions of dollars, trillions of dollars, just in refinance fees and the interest on those fees. That's what happens. Listen, I got a couple of more points here. All right. We're not asking, here it is. We're not asking the important question of all. Why are we still using the same old, tired information? Why is it taking so long to pay off the debt? Why are we not paying off these mortgages? Because we're still using the same old, tired information from the financial experts, from the gurus. And if their information was correct, if their information was actually working, then why are 90% of us failing to do what we want to do, pay off this debt? We need new information. Not only do we need new financial education like the P.I.L.L method provides, but we can also use the technology to beat the bank's math, beat them at their own game. What if we have the technology to do that? Okay. The education and the technology combined. When you combine education and the technology that we provide here at the P.I.L.L method, not only that, but our financial education is used to program the technology. Oh my goodness. Now what you call that is augmented machine learning. When human beings interact with AI so that you get a new type of program, that's called augmented machine learning. The computer program is artificially intelligent. But then when you have an expert set up the computer program, that's when you get augmented machine learning. And now you have something that the banks never wish you found out about. Okay? Let me give you an example of that. Let me pull that up on my screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. Augmented machine learning. When you have financial AI, okay, artificial intelligence set up in a superior fashion with brand new financial education you're not getting anywhere else. That's what we call our opportunity cost calculator. There it is on the screen right there. Opportunity cost calculator, where you can now pay off all of your debt in an average of 7 to 9 years. All of your debt in an average of 7 to 9 years. If you want to know more about what we've talked about today, I'm going to put my link at the top of the screen. Okay? It is ice10k.com. Ice, the number 10, the letter K.com. Ice10k.com. All right? Click the link. Get a savings and earnings report today. Get a savings and earnings report today. Here's what we're talking about. I'm going to put it on the screen right now. ICE stands for Interest Cancellation Expert. Ice10k.com. And we want to transform not just America, but countries all around the world into interest cancellating experts, so that you can cut your interest costs by 75, 80%, pay off all of your debt in record time, take that money that no longer is going to interest payments and invest that money so that you can get a 100, 200, 300, even up to 800% return on your money. We're going to show you how to do that, ladies and gentlemen. Here's we have ET here, but here's what I need you to see. Scroll down until you see get a savings and earnings report. Click that button. All right. And fill this out. Don't waste another dollar paying off the wrong debt at the wrong time in the wrong way. Get a free savings and earnings report. You can know the month, day, and year you are debt free by filling this out, sending it in. Follow the directions on the left-hand side of the page. Step 1, then step 2. It is that easy. Fill out the information, send it to us. Our staff will get that. Then our staff will contact you to verify the information you sent us, to make sure that the numbers are correct. Once we are sure, once we verify that information with you, we will produce what's called a savings and earnings report and send it to you so you could see the month, day, and year you'll be debt free. Now, if you like what you see, if you like it, then what we can do is set up a consultation with you and see if you want to enter into a relationship with the P.I.L.L method so that we can facilitate a payoff of all of your debt in 7 to 9 years on average. Some people take a little bit longer. Some people actually do it faster than that. But our average is 7 to 9 years. Yeah. And we can work with you to make sure that that's done. Okay. So if that's what you want, if that's what you would like, go to ice10k.com and click on that. All right. And get your savings and earnings report for free. Not only that, but some of you have been inspired today and you want to do more. You've heard about the amortization formula and what it does. You've heard about the rate of change, what's actually going on, how slowly the rate of change is, and how you can increase that rate of change. You've also found out how much of your payment is being misused and abused, okay? And how you can turn that around, all right? And now you're going to take advantage of how much goes to principal, how much goes to interest. You're going to take advantage of that, and you're going to stop listening to all the other gurus out there that call themselves experts, and because they're not showing you the numbers like we do. Listen, you are now going to take control of your finances with education and with technology. And you're excited about that, and you want other people to know. So what you're going to do is go back to ice10k.com and says, listen, I want to share this information with others. And you're going to go down to the bottom of the screen here and click on, let's see here. Let me, hold on for a second. I got to move this up so people can see it. There it is. All right. Become an affiliate. Become an affiliate. Click that button right there, become an affiliate, and fill this out. It takes about 15 seconds. By sharing this information with others, you don't even have to sell it. You don't even have to learn what I've learned over the last 18 years. You don't need to, you don't need to know all of that. You just need to know how to direct people to the YouTube channel. Direct them to the YouTube channel. Let them watch some of these videos. Contact them after 2 days. And if they're interested, if they're still interested in wanting to know more, then what you do is you go back to the ice10k.com, go back to ice10k.com and scroll down underneath my picture here until you see refer a friend. Click that button. When you're clicking out referring a friend, then you're going to put in their name, their phone number, their email address, their zip code, and your name and number, because you're the one who referred them. And any comments you can give us about them so that we can help them pay off all of their debt in an average of 7 to 9 years. And every time we get a new client, because you sent them to us, if they have over $100,000 in debt, we will pay you for that. The first one, $300. And if you send us a second one in the same month, that second one is going to be worth $400. The third one, $500. The fourth one, $600. If you send us 5 in the same month that become clients, the fifth one is worth $1,200 for a total of $3,000. Make anywhere from $300 to $3,000 a month, ladies and gentlemen, just by sharing the YouTube channel and sending in this referral form. You don't have to sell anything or answer any questions. If you want people to know more about what they're doing, then you you want to become a interest cancellation expert. Not only that, but you want to share this with others and get paid. Listen, this is the best of both worlds. You are now getting out of debt in an average of 7 to 9 years. You are now sharing this with others and you're getting paid as well. Oh my goodness. What could be better than that? But the last thing here, folks, the last thing, don't forget about this. Get my book. Okay? Get the book. You can go down here and click on this button so that you can see how you can get the book. All right. So let me bring the book up on the screen. All right. And there it is. It's a best-selling book on Amazon right now. Get that book and you will and watch the videos. It will increase your knowledge exponentially of what we're talking about, so that you can feel confident in sharing the YouTube channel with others, and so that you can pay off all of your debt in record time, take all of that interest money and invest it in your family instead of giving it to the bank. What do you say, everybody? What do you say? If you've learned something today, put something in the chat, put a number 9, put some flames in the chat, do something. And so I've got Husan Thompson says, "Hey Don, I wish I could come up because I have a question." Oh, okay. Let me, Husan, let's see here. If I have 10K available, is it smarter to prepay all at once or make 1K prepayment over 10 months? All right. So Husan, here's what you need to do. The first answer that anybody in my position should be able to tell you is, I don't know. I don't know. Here's what we want to be able to do. Put it in the computer, and the computer will let you know how much interest is actually going to cost you to make a particular decision. There's so much math going on, Husan. It is impossible for me to say. When you have a question that comes to money, here's the answer you want to receive. Let's run the numbers. Let's do the math, and let's figure out, if I do it this way, how much interest will it cost me? If I do it another way, how much interest will it cost me per dollar? And once you figure that out, then you'll know which way to go. That is always the best way of doing this. Okay? That's always the best way of doing this. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go back. Let me take this off the screen. All right. And we're almost done for today. All right. So I want to thank everybody for showing up. Thank you for being here. You got the links. You know about the book. Become an affiliate. And now you know that why 90% of the people will never pay off their mortgages, because they're not taking control of the rate of change in their mortgages. As soon as they do, you can pay off your mortgages. And in this case, a mortgage, a car, and a credit card can be paid off in about 7.7 years, saving $179,790 in interest they don't have to pay the bank. And when you invest that money, you can turn it into millions. The money that, listen, what if this was a young couple? One of our premier couples, right out of college, paid off their mortgage in 6.5 years. And I met them in 2008. And do you know they're paying off their 4th mortgage now? They're taking their money and continuing to reinvest it. And they're keeping those houses and renting them out. What? Straight out of college, 2008. And how well they're doing now. You can start this for yourself and for your family by understanding this. All right, folks, I want to thank everybody for being here. We're going to get out of here. Our last word is going to be from Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher, the #1 motivational speaker in the entire world. And he's going to tell us what he thinks about the P.I.L.L method. And we will be back here on Friday with a brand new subject to do it all over again. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. And so Dr. Eric Thomas, what do you have to say to us this morning?
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, "Oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money?" I was like, "I don't know, forever." She's like, "You sure?" Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, "You ain't gotta do that, you can do this." But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down from my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, We didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.